Welcome to the Upshift podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. In today's guest, we have Dr. Kristen Williamson, who will be speaking to us about neurodivergency. And she has a really cool word that she uses for this. So welcome, Kristen, and enlighten us, please.
Hi, thank you so much for letting me be here and share my stories today. Yeah, with neurodiversity, it's definitely that umbrella term for autism, for ADHD, there's a spectrum, a gauntlet. I like saying Neuro-Spicy because I wholeheartedly believe we've got the spice of life. Whether that's a strong spice or not, we've got it.
Right. And there are companies I know of that have actually been on this podcast that have used the Neuro-Spicy, right, to focus them and their skills in their strengths to bring to their companies. It's amazing.
It is. The Neuro-Spicy brain is so incredibly cool as long as you understand the manual that is within your brain. A lot of times I'm a professional counselor by trade, and I work within the Neuro-Spicy community now because they just they find me and then they stick with me, because having a therapist who's also diagnosed ADHD and autistic, as I got diagnosed at 39. Other people come, and it's nice to have a therapist who understands where your brain is, to understand the issues that you may have had growing up, and in a different way than just book learning.
Right. And
So
it's a processing
it is.
difference. It's not like it's like you're dull or dumb at all. In fact,
Not at all.
I know. In fact, you're more sensitive. And I think what you're addressing today with us is, what is somebody who knows that's what it is with me. And so how do you learn how to work with yourself? And then how do you learn how to be skillful and successful in a world that doesn't think like you do?
Oh my gosh. It's our brains. We have spent, and when I say we, I say the collective society of Neuro-Spicy brains. We've kind of, from the get-go, had these characterizing traits of: you're really lazy, you are different, you're weird. And when they say weird, it's not with that happy intonation. And it's, oh, you're quirky. Why aren't you turning in this homework? Why are you not doing this? You're too much. You're not enough. Just a lot of these labels that get lumped onto you. Being a female on top of that, I feel like there's more labels that just get put on. And so it's fighting against this mountain of we're too much, or we're not enough, or we're insert any identifying label negatively there. So it's coming in and kind of reframing your brain, in that, you know what? Just because my brain is different doesn't mean I'm less.
Right.
Just because I don't work at a traditional 9-to-5 pace doesn't mean that I can't hold a full-time job. There's research studies that say spicy brains can be as much as 140 times more productive than neurotypical brains.
Right.
But it's within the work that they can do. It's telling a fish to climb a tree and then telling them they're doing it wrong.
Right. So I'm curious, how would someone know if they're possibly, I'm talking into adult kids, they get diagnosed. But for those of us out there that are adults, and it's like, man, am I neurodivergent? How do you know?
So much of this with the American society, it's you don't get to get tested. You don't get to get assessed because it's expensive, and insurance doesn't cover it. And there's not a pill to make you less autistic. There are ones for ADHD, which is why more people are able to get that diagnosis and talk to a doctor, because doctors are able to see the benefits. And okay, here's these things that can get your brain to slow down because it's moving at 2.5 times speed. With autism, I actually think there's a really great power in finding that community online, finding different social media components. There's Facebook, there's Reddit, there's Instagram, TikTok pages where they talk about what autism looks like, where they talk about what it looks like as an adult, what ADHD looks like, and just kind of listening and learning and reading about it. And you may not ever have that ability to go in and get officially diagnosed where you just have that paper that says, yes, this is. But I think there's wild amounts of power in just learning, hey, you know what? My brain struggles with loud noises. So I'm going to carry headphones with me or
Right.
earplugs. I have trouble with this different texture. I don't like wearing blue jeans. So I don't wear blue jeans. And
Yeah.
no, that's an okay thing. That's an allowable thing. Whereas
That
for
sounds semi-normal to me. I mean, it's like I don't like to wear wool against my skin because it itches. But how so give me some other discerning self-diagnostic ADHD or autism characteristics that would, even if you don't get officially diagnosed, so what? But to know, hey, I am different. Okay, so this is cool. So embracing that. Give me some, if you don't mind, like just some bullet points, just listing some characteristics. So then it's like, yeah, do that. So it's okay. So now what? Because we'll go into now what, but I want the characteristics first.
when so I'm going to go on a couple different levels with the ADHD. A lot of things that I see that the brain works a little bit different, and there is kind of that mindset of, well, everybody's a little divergent, and I think everybody's brain works differently, but it's where it starts affecting your life. With With ADHD, I see a lot of executive dysfunction coming in where the part of your brain is just not firing where it needs to. And this is where we come in with procrastination. And we either struggle with task management or task completion. Task management or task initiation, not management. Task initiation is I put off in college, you put off writing that 10-page paper until the night before. And then you can write that entire paper within one night because you needed that amount of dopamine to get going, but you struggle for the weeks leading up to it of, I gotta write this. I gotta write this. Why am I not doing this? Why am I so lazy? This is awful. You're not enjoying life. You're thinking about writing it. You just can't. And then there's the people who get started on this project and this feels so good. I love doing this. And you get 80% of the way and then you stop. And then it feels like pulling teeth to get to complete that project because you no longer have that dopamine filling in your brain to say, I can do this.
Wow. So, I mean, you're actually describing me in so many ways. It's so funny because I always thought I'm an Aries. So Aries are known to jump in first. I mean, task
Really?
initiation, no problem. Task completion, though, we lose supposedly patience, we lose interest. Maybe the dopamine's not there. I
It's
always thought it was an astrological problem.
You know what? I'm a Scorpio, so I could not tell you about I can tell you all about Scorpios. And it's so funny in
Yeah.
saying that it might be a zodiac connection as well. I don't have that beautiful information,
Oh,
but now my
that's
brain's like,
fine.
let's go down and read about it.
No, that's fine. Tell me about the dopamine cycle, though, of that's different, let's say, from an autistic person producing dopamine and uptaking dopamine compared to the, I quote everybody, normal person.
I love the quotes. With the ADHD brain, with the autism brain, I think they have come in and they've noticed that we don't have the same amount of dopamine to begin with. And so we go in and we start seeking dopamine, which is why for some of us will get in, and this is why social media can be such a pain in the butt. And it's just 15-second video after video after video after video because it just feels good and it's hitting those receptors and it's
Mhm.
hard to pull off. And it's very different with kids now because kids are being raised in that mentality. So the brain is not necessarily pulling into well, we can focus for long amounts of time. But
Right.
for us as adults, prior to, for me, TikTok coming in,
Mhm.
it was really hard to sit and be in a meeting and listen to someone talk and not zone out, not have my brain go off into different conversations. Or if I'm talking to someone, feeling as though they are not talking quick enough, that my brain is preemptively answering for them because
Yeah.
it felt like they were going on a point 0.7 speed where my brain is at a point 1.75 and I want to just hear them talk and go to brrrr. But if they're not doing it, then my brain just goes off and doesn't pay attention. And then
Wow.
it's okay, you're not paying attention. Come back and focus. What did they say? How did you miss? What did you miss? And so it's learning that for my brain, I need to be doing two things at once. I have fidgets all around me. I have a little under the desk elliptical. My feet are almost always moving in order to have that ability to pay attention. My brain has to be doing multiple things at once.
Interesting. And
The autism component, it is getting stuck in its for me, what I've noticed is something called cognitive rigidity. It's where my brain says it has to be like this. And if something changes, I have a very hard time coming around to that. Spontaneity is not my jam if it's someone else's idea. If my husband comes in and says, let's go do this, my brain immediately comes into panic mode because I have not come in and prepared for it. I have not looked at the map on how to get there, where the parking is going to be, what the menu looks like,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
all
And
of
this
these things.
and this all has to do with dopamine, how you process dopamine, because I want to circle back to that.
Oh, you know what? I totally went off on a different tangent in the
Proving
don't
your point, by the way.
see my brain squirrels out in different directions. Like, let's do this and this. With the dopamine, it's constantly being a collector of hobbies. And with the ADHD brain, I've heard so many people say, I'm a collector of hobbies and I really want to write books. Now let's make bracelets. Now let's do this. And you're going to learn as much as you can to be moderately okay. And then it's no longer fun. Then you're going to pick up another hobby and you're going to spend all this money and do all these things and put in that time and effort until it no longer fulfills that need. And I see this a lot with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, a lot of them are in the neurodivergent world because their brains are so incredibly creative because they get that dopamine firing off in different areas and doing these things, but not on a corporate level, not in a way that they can have a hierarchy come in and tell them, this is what you need to do.
God. So again, I mean, I feel like my brain is happiest when I'm in complete creative space. Like I've got a good split. I can do financials. I can help somebody build a business. I can go into nonprofits and talk to them. But my whole creative side, like I can create an entire dance production, envision a whole new office and studio, all that.
Holy
And I
crap.
love it. And that I think is where I get dopamine. That would be called just the creative person, in
Right.
the
Yeah.
normal world or whatever. Again, I air quote that. One of the things about dopamine, and since you are a scientist, I've got neuroscience in my background too. Dr. Diadamo wrote a book called Has to Eat Right for Your Type. And it was blood typing and antibodies and the age of the blood. So O's, we're the original. I'm an O. We're the
Okay.
original bloods. And so without the antibodies, the B, A, and AB, and negative, positive, all that kind of stuff. And I read in there that O bloods are, out of all the blood types, produce the least amount of endorphins,
Oh my gosh.
dopamine, serotonin, not serotonin so much, but dopamine. And that our uptake, we don't uptake so adrenaline so well. So for an O blood, this is how they described it now, saying I'm talking to you because I want you to pipe in here. This is very interesting to me. Two worlds talking about the same thing. But the O bloods, they need stimulation. So they love adrenaline. They become adrenaline addicts. See, where you would say, well, that's very much like ADHD, who are dopamine addicts. And so they go out and do the things that make their body, force their body to produce dopamine. Whereas in his book, O Bloods, they go out and do very risky things, ride fast on motorcycles, jump off a high dive, whatever it is to give that jolt of adrenaline so that adrenaline becomes your drug. And see, and I was what they used to call an adrenaline addict.
You know
But the
what? That's Bill. Yep. Within the ADHD, that impulsivity, hey, we don't always just think before we act. It's let's go off the high dive. Let's go do
yeah,
this. Let's go
yeah,
do this. And if we think about it with the dopamine, it's almost a currency that we can use with effort and interest. And like, hey, that's how we're building this currency.
huh,
And
yeah.
I could not give you any of the science jargon behind it. I am definitely within the psychology world as a soft science. I could not tell you all the really cool names for things, but I can tell you for exactly what you're talking about. Now I want to go look up. Gee, you're just telling me all these fun things. I want to go look at the book. Some people can
It's
do
an
all these things.
exchange. It's
With
definitely an
dopamine, it
exchange.
helps us with that focus, and with it gives us the reward and pleasure just feelings. And I read once that in a study that basal ganglion part of our brain,
Mhm.
it's activated by dopamine. So, and that's the movement part of our brain. So, have you ever had times where you just felt kind of frozen in place? The I want to get up, but I can't. I can't do this. I can't do this. I cannot get out of bed. I can't stop doom scrolling. I can't get up and go do the dishes.
You know, I had a day like this yesterday. I was just telling my assistant, not frozen though, but like I woke up and I felt 6 feet under. I'm like, why do I have kind of a gloomy outlook on the day? And you know, I feel like it's biorhythmic. I mean, not every day can be sunshine and
Right?
unicorns, but it was like I had a day, and it made me realize things though, because I've got a well-developed observer of, okay, what is this? What am I doing? Why am I thinking this? What's going on? What predisposed this? Whatever. And I had some conversations that day that, because I was in kind of a melancholy mood, I was able to receive the information that they gave me. I didn't have a whole lot of firing, I guess, off in the brain. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm just going to take this at face value because I don't have enough energy to try to make this a positive thing. Let's just see what it is. But it made me realize that I was involved in a way of giving my work that wasn't giving back to me. And so I woke up today, though, Kristen, and I mean, all of a sudden the creativity opened up. I'm like, hey, you know, why don't I look at this
Oh
possibility?
my
Why
god.
not? And I did. And then I got excited. I'm like, well, that's exactly what I need to be doing. And that's where I need to be, you know, sharing my work. And all of a sudden
You needed that slower day where your brain wasn't just
yeah, and I don't
cycling
feel
all
like, because I
over.
did want to say I have a close friend who's bipolar.
Mhm.
And she, when you were describing the collecting hobbies, it's almost irritating. It's almost like she goes to one church and she's all about that church. And then it's like, hey, how's that church going? Oh no, I've switched to this thing. And then she's making bracelets, or she's knitting, or she's stained glass stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, what? You know, why don't you stick with something, you know? And I feel like I've learned at my older age, because I was kind of a little bit of a stone
Mhm.
skimmer, that sticking with something even through the uncomfortable, like, oh my God, you know, I feel like I've been doing this a long time. Actually, there's benefit. Like the next day, things open up. So, you know, maybe
Fair.
I'm a functioning, I mean, maybe you're diagnosing me. I don't know. But I find this super interesting because I felt like this was all kind of normal behavior. I don't know.
Isn't that interesting? It's the pattern recognition that spicy brains can come in. And this is so cool because ADHD comes in with the enthusiasm, with this quick to connect and say, these are big ideas. Here, I'm going to execute this in a bold way, and we can create these own paths. And then autism brains, we are very systemic thinking. We can do precision. I am a collect. I love organizing. I love me a good Excel spreadsheet. That makes me so happy of like, let's color coordinate this. Let's do this. Let's do this. However, when other people come in and it disrupts my flow, it's very, very hard for me to come in and then get back into an emotionally regulated place. And this is being a therapist for 10 years and working on it and having that insight, it's still hard. And I think coming in and the identification of this is hard, okay, it can be hard. It doesn't have to be day ending, it doesn't have to be world shifting. I can come in and say that this is tough.
Okay, so what you just described there was when your life's in order, how you made it,
Mhm.
and there's a disruptor, which I say, how do you raise children? How do you have a partner? How do you collaborate with teams? Are you a good team player or a team leader? Because involving any other human in your life is going to disrupt. So,
It
how do
is.
you do that?
It's hard. It's very hard. It's hard. I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. It's It's hard parenting.
Yeah.
I present first with autism, I follow up with ADHD, like, think of stepping forward. My husband jumps forward with ADHD, and so he is that chaos magnet, and I'm over here trying to keep it organized, and so we butt heads, and it's a constant evolution of communication in, okay, your hobbies are spreading. I need you to pile them back. And then for me, I'm trying to structure everything. I need to pull it back. And that's the same thing with parenting is, oh, we need to be out of the house by 3:45. If it's 3:46, my world's not going to end.
Well,
But
you have to tell yourself that,
I
right?
do have to tell myself that. It's
Yeah,
the take a breath. It's okay. We're still going to get there by 4 o'clock. If we get there by 4:01, we're not in trouble. And
right.
it's this living with these preordained rules that I've had to realize that I don't have to follow the black and white thinking.
Yeah. A lot of people this is so interesting because a lot of people what I'm doing is I don't mean to challenge you, but it's like all you're coming from the ADHD and autistic world, and
Mhm.
I'm coming back saying these things have been explained over the years. Like, so somebody who's had a chaotic upbringing, they grow up as adults needing form for a structure, and once they get their world, I call this also Virgo, once they get their world, like this works and this works, I'm not going to deviate outside of these things work, that is to make their world safe for them. But you're coming from this other perspective of like that's an ADHD characteristic.
Well, and not always. You're also coming in from the idea of that's trauma. And that's, I think there's a very, very valid place in our conversation to talk about trauma and how trauma can absolutely affect our brain, and how if we grow up in a chaotic household, we thrive looking for structure. Unless we do that pendulum the other direction, then we just live in chaos ourselves because we don't know how to live in structure.
It's a known, yeah, known feeling, right? Yeah.
For me, and this is and this is where I think a lot more people are recognizing that their brains might be divergent, in that I recognize I don't have working memory that's really great. Think about it as Post-it notes. If someone tells me something and if I don't write it down, if I don't set it in my calendar, it's gone. It's gone. And so it's
We
in
call
this.
that old age.
See, I've had to do this from a child though. I lived in that school agenda. Other kids picked on me for it. I loved it because I knew when things were going to get done. And plus, again, I could color coordinate and it was amazing. Use
Yeah.
my pens.
Yeah.
Even
Wow.
now, I'm looking at my schedule above. I have all of meetings in one color, kid things in a different color, and I have to see it because if I don't see it, it's gone.
You are so funny. I've got a white wall in front of me right now. My entire wall is a white wall. It's great. I suggest anybody do it. It's fabulous. But I have all my stuff written, and it's kind of it's not color. Well, it is a little bit color coordinated when I look at it. You're totally describing me 100%. The
I
thing,
love this.
but a thing that I didn't realize it was dopamine, but when I organize a closet,
Well, that feels good,
oh
doesn't it?
my God.
That
And
feels
now I'm
good.
gonna go to my girlfriends. I'm like, you know, when you like to organize a closet, you might be ADHD. I don't know, but the upsurge of dopamine. I'm like, I just love organization to get to
Well, and
things
it's
quickly.
funny because with ADHD, we thrive in structure, but we don't want it. We don't tell me what to do. Don't put this on my schedule. Don't do this. But it's okay. Yeah, here's this. This makes sense. I get this. But it's so pushing against it. And with autism, we're over here like, yes, give me a schedule. Tell me what school looks like. And it's actually really funny. Transition times are what's really hard with the ADHD or the spicy brain. And this is where a lot of kids tend to get diagnosed with ADHD in middle school. In elementary school, we have one teacher, two teachers, maybe. You go to middle school and then it's class periods 1 through 8, and there's
Yeah.
a 4-minute transition. And we don't know how to study. We don't know how to pay attention because our brain doesn't come in and inherently say, this is a good thing to do. Dr. Amen created the Amen Centers. He talks about ADHD brains. He actually came in and he said, in studying the Neuro-Spicy brain and doing something that you don't want to do, that task that you know you have to get done, but you
Yeah.
just don't want to, it's
Mhm.
as though a part of your brain goes to sleep. And it makes it so much harder to do these tasks. It feels like you're walking through molasses just to get it done.
Yeah.
Get that task 80% of the way done, and then it's no longer fun to do. You've done the hard stuff and you're like, "Oh yeah, no, this felt really good. This was fun. Now I have to do the rest. I don't want to do that." Meh. It's going to take 4 to 7 business days to get the rest of it finished.
Yeah. You are cracking me up in so many ways. I mean, you just are. I don't know. I love it. I love it.
It's amazing because as you are sitting and connecting, you've realized all the things you've done for your life to make your life work. And not only to make your life work, to make your life work well.
Right. Right. I used to always sit at the front of the classroom. I have to, even if I'm in a exercise class, I have to be in the front. I don't want to be,
Yeah.
diverted or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
I like to be right with the teacher. It's almost like an energetic exchange, but I have to be in the front. And I'd learned that back in middle school, I guess.
That's my parents kept my report cards, and looking back on them, the teachers were Kristen talks a lot. Kristen makes friends with everybody. Kristen's going to talk to the wall if you put her in the back. And it's my brain is an external processor. So if there's an idea, I'm going to say it out loud. I need that sounding board. I want to say it because as it's heard out loud, I absorb it more. And so in working in teams, as you had said earlier, that was really hard
Yeah.
because I like my ideas. I don't want to hear your ideas. I can lead a team. I can come in and facilitate, but if I have to share ideas with other people, it's very hard for my brain to come in and say, there are other ideas that are good because my brain will come in and be like, well, this is the most efficient way. This is the most logical way to do it. And if you're not doing it my way, then you're wrong. And so it's coming in with like, that's not true. That's not true. Step it back. Other people are right. It's just in a different way.
So have you heard of Clifton Strengths?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I love that. And I used to coach people on Clifton Strengths all the time and business groups and managerial groups and how to put teams together using everybody's strength and not try to force somebody to do something they're not good at. It seems like in your world that in a business world dealing with the neurodivergent spicy brains,
Mm-hmm.
that it would be good to give them the Clifton Strengths. Do you find that true?
I want to say yes and no. In the strengths model, it's coming in and seeing, yes, where your abilities are, where these ability for success can come in, and also where you may not be the most thriving.
Right.
And I don't know as much about the strengths model as I can say for me as a therapist, I use the positive psychology model, which is building upon a person's strengths.
Yeah, which is what Clifton does also.
I know within some of the strength based modeling, as long as the workers are the bosses are able to come in and implement it and hey, they are very good at organizing. Let's put them here.
Yeah.
Not only lumping them in this idea of, well, organization's your only spot.
Ah, okay, I get it. Yeah, not pigeonholing anybody in their skills.
But yes, identifying this is where you can thrive. This is where you are good.
And this is where you can fit into our team. So we have that position, that need filled, and you're good at it. Instead of trying to, in employee exchange, when they tell you how you're doing, I can't think of the word right now, but where they tell you where you're not succeeding, what you're not good at, and what you need to get better at. It's like that's good at some point, but really let's talk about what you're good at and let's continue to support that. So what I'm leading to is through this podcast that we're doing, I find incredibly interesting this exchange of information. How would you advise someone who, I mean, even me, thinks that they might be, or it doesn't really matter, but they have these things? How would you advise people in business, people managing leaders, deal with the neurodivergent community?
Oh, I love this question. Let's shift that narrative from deficit to different, where they might come in with, oh, well, this person's late to meetings, but they might be different in they have that flexibility. They are the ones who stay late. They're the ones who come in early. Hey, I might need to be seeing that they're late to meetings, I'm going to have them put on their alarm 5 minutes before the meeting. Like, you come in and you see where they're struggling and you say, you know what, let's find out how we can change this.
Okay.
And someone's coming into a meeting and they're feeling anxious a lot of the time, or they're telling me that they're feeling anxious, I'm going to send them the agenda ahead of time so they know what's going to be talked about, so they can pre-plan for this, so they can come in and maybe not putting things on in the, hey, we've got to meet in 3 minutes, but we don't know this ahead of time. So it's giving that transition time that there's going to be a meeting today at this time, but
Mhm.
30 minutes, giving an hour, giving 2 hours, whatever it is. There's a meeting at the end of the week. We're going to do this.
Mhm. So these are managerial hacks for
Oh, yeah.
the neurodivergent, but I would say as a leader in my own community and business that I would do that for everybody. If
Oh
somebody's
my gosh,
struggling,
yes.
I wouldn't just single them out and give them the schedule. I'd be like, "Hey, let's
No.
let's have everybody have the schedule,"
No, I
right?
actually really love that idea. It's not treating anybody necessarily different, but exactly what you're saying, the where someone is strong or where they might be struggling is coming in with, I can add a little bit more to that, even if I add it to everybody else and do for everybody else. And hey, put this on your calendar. But for one person who might have a harder time with time management or that time blindness, set 15 minutes ahead of time. Set an alarm or tell them to set an alarm, and being consistent with what you were doing, not saying there's going to be a meeting and then canceling it and then setting it for another time
Yeah,
and then
that
canceling
that's that's
it.
bad leadership all around anyway, no matter who you are or what you are. I do want to shift gears though, because we talked a lot about the brain. What about the body? What is a
Mm.
neurodivergent somatic point of view? I'm very curious. Like, what's different there?
It's that feeling as though not being able to get off the couch, not being able, you have laundry that you want to put away, and then you are just shaming yourself. Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? I need to get up
That,
and get this done.
that's in the
But
head. I
you
want,
feel that in the body as well.
yeah,
The body almost feels like it's weighted with sand,
okay,
and that it's hard to get and move, to have this pivot to go from one thing to another. And when, and it definitely starts with the mind, but it shows up in the body. It can show up with that transition period, and if it doesn't happen, then it manifests as anxiety, and you start feeling this, and your heart might start racing, or you're having that pit in your stomach, and we start avoiding things. We start
right.
not to get these things done. It's Have you ever heard of spoon theory?
Uh, No, I think we talked about this in our pre-discussion,
Oh,
but I can't.
okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna nerd out about this for a hot second. Spoon theory was created by, oh, I cannot tell you her name. She has lupus, and her friends wanted to explain what it was like living with that invisible illness, which lupus is not autism, it's not ADHD, but it's that invisible illness with, neurodivergence, other disabilities, and each spoon represents a unit of energy. And so, say we have 30 spoons today, we have all this energy. Every task that we do costs a spoon. Going into a meeting, doing a podcast, sending an email, taking a shower, making lunch, all these things cost spoons. And people with invisible disabilities, they may not have as many spoons as
yeah.
someone who doesn't have a
Wow.
disability.
Uh-huh.
And so, where you may start with 30 spoons today, and then you have to borrow spoons from tomorrow to take that shower, to get that extra podcast in, to write up those show notes. That the next day you're starting with 90% or 80%. And then we continue borrowing because we are depleting ourselves of energy, that we have day where we can't get out of bed, where we feel more low, where we don't have that time where our brain is firing. And so we stay in bed longer. We are not caring for ourselves more. We feel like we have less and less energy because
Interesting.
we aren't resting, or we are borrowing so many spoons from tomorrow that it's coming at a cost.
It's called spoon theory. Is that what it's called?
Spoon theory.
Spoon theory. I
Yep.
kind of like that. It's kind of like waking up. How many spoons do I have today?
I that is exactly, because energy is not limitless. As much as our brains want to come and be like, I can do this and this and this and this is amazing and this is great.
Especially, I guess, in the ADH world, it's like, yeah, just pile it on. I can do it all.
bring it on. Think about it for being a woman. Being a woman with I'm having a hard time, but I'm gonna mask it. I don't want them to see me struggle. I don't want them to see that I'm having a harder time because we are fighting to be at the same level in a man's world.
Oh,
We are
yeah.
fighting to do this. And then we come home and we take that bra off and we are done.
Yeah.
It's like, I am not putting that bra back on for anything. Mm-mm. And the mask comes off.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I've been there for sure in the male world, right?
Uh-huh.
So, Kristen, my God, so much information has been exchanged. I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today and spending this time and giving us all this food for thought, really food for thought, and making us, whether we're neurodivergent or not, feel like it's okay. It's just how we respond to the world and how we know how we respond to the world and then how we shift to respond to the world. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you
We're all
for
normal. How
having
about
me
that?
and letting me talk about things that just it's the idea that our brains might be different, but we're not less.
No, no. And I said, so we're all, to me, it's like we're all quote unquote normal. We're
Hmm?
just different normal. How about that?
Ooh, different normals.
Well,
Oh,
different
I
normal.
love that.
All
I
right.
love
Spicy
sounds
girl. Spicy girl. I'm different normal. How about that?
There we go. I love it. We're different levels of spice.
They are. So, Kristen, how does someone find you?
You can find me. I am on all kinds of social media. You look up Dr. Kristen or Dr. Kristen Williamson. I put out articles on LinkedIn. I do videos with TikTok, with Instagram, and just normalizing what life looks like being spicy. I will tell you, there's more cats in it than you'd ever imagine a cat would be in a video. Because
She's a
why not?
cat lady. All
I am
right.
a cat lady.
She's a spicy cat lady.
A spicy cat lady.
All right. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye. Thank you, Dr. Kristen Williamson on neurodivergency. I was just talking to her after the show, and I'm like, everything you said, I actually do. So it makes you wonder. I'm very functional. I thought it was quite interesting. She was engaging. So thank you, Kristen. And thank you, listeners. I'm Angel Howard. I am your host on The Upshift. And I'd love to get to know you better. Send me an email at angel@angelhoward.co.com. Or go on Amazon and get my book, Issues in Your Tissues, How to Navigate Your Life Through Your Body's Messaging. Or hire me to speak. I am now filling up my speaking calendar, and I do great stuff with leadership and management. This podcast right here would be kind of fun because it really is, how do you organize your managerial people and your employees with their skills and not feel them, make them feel bad about what they're not skilled at. Anyway, thanks for listening today, and I will see you down the road.